The League of Women Voters and Venture Local Franklin will host the initial Community Town Hall discussion series on March 31st from 6 to 8 p.m. at Tartan Hall. The goal of this first discussion is to bring together ideas concerning the design and use of the gazebo property. It is our hope to have elected officials, designers, businesses, local groups, citizens, performers, and any other stakeholders in attendance. From 6 to 6:30 that evening, attendees will have the opportunity to peruse designs and speak with any designers and elected officials who may be present. At 6:30, we will progress to a moderated session. This is a time for designers, businesses, groups, and individuals to address everyone with their ideas or concerns. Forms will be available for anyone to offer written input, which will be presented to the Franklin Board of Aldermen at their April meeting. It is our hope to foster an environment of collaboration and cooperation where ideas can be exchanged and approved. Any and all designs are welcome. Anyone planning to present a design should contact Angela Moore to ensure enough space allocated for designs at the event. Thank you.
I know everyone's busy. I'm Matt Bacon, if you don't know me. Venture Local Franklin, I'm involved. I also own my own business, Stay and Play in Smokies. I have an office downtown here in the Smoky area, including Franklin, my hometown, to the masses that want to come here. Some goals that we want to take away from the meeting tonight. There's so many meetings, we almost get meeting to death. But we want to take these ideas and put them into action. In a nutshell, that's kind of what we want to do. So we bring the community in, we share our ideas with each other, we collaborate on them, which has already been taking place, which is awesome to see. Going through the designs back there, enjoy seeing everybody talking and sharing ideas already. And then vision, and then pumping that collaboration into vision and putting things into action to make Franklin the best it can be. I will remind you, we did have forms at the front. If you didn't get one, please go get one. And if you have additional thoughts, ideas, concerns, please jot those down. We plan on presenting those at the April 7th Town Board of Aldermen meeting at 7 p.m. if you want to come, open to the public. So those are very important. We don't have time for everyone to get up and say something, but that's your outlet to share your ideas. And without further ado, I'll just go ahead and introduce Angela Moore. She's going to go through our designers and a few more things.
All right, before we move on to letting the designers and some of the stakeholders speak, I'm going to pass it off to Christina Moe from the League of Women Voters to say a few words. They're one of our sponsors. They've been great to work with this. And Christina. Thanks, Angela. I'm Christina Moe, the League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters is a community organization for men and women. We've been working since the 1920s on voter education and voter rights. We meet here, our group in Franklin meets here in Tartan Hall every second Thursday, and we invite you back a week from Thursday, April 10th. We're holding the Macon County Commissioners Forum at noon, so come back for that. We also have a little information on a table across from the table where you signed in. Tonight, we are very happy to be co-sponsors of this Community Town Hall meeting, so thank you so much for coming. If any of you are speaking, I'll be sitting right there keeping time, so I'm the one you want to watch for if you need to keep track of your time. So thank you again for coming, and thank you, Angela and Matt. Thank you, Christina. All right, we're going to start with the designers.
That's super loud.
I talk too loud. We're going to start with the designers, and we're going to give them a little more time than everyone else. We are going to ask you to keep it to about 40 minutes. As Christina said, she's the one to watch. She's going to be keeping time for us, just so we make sure that we have an opportunity for everyone to speak. So without further ado, Angela Ramos, sorry. All right, come on up here.
First of all, I'm happy to be here. I took that open invitation by Warren as a challenge when we were talking about the community coming up with ideas. I've always been an idea man. I was an only child, and there was no computers. So I had to find things to do and be creative. And when I'm given an opportunity to come up with ideas, that's when the wheels start churning. Now this design is going to take a couple of elements into account. One of it is that it's a steel welded tube construction, which gives it a design feature which I call the floating glass. It appears as though the glass is floating there and it's not being supported, but it actually is. There are these structural beams that are welded that meet at specific corners, offsetting the weight of the glass. It also has an acoustic component to it in that it's angled this way and it's also angled this way. So what's happening, the sound in there is being funneled out in a very specific point of direction. Now this can be, construction of this can be started while the gazebo has been undisturbed. On the plan, I'm showing it at the northeast corner, which is kind of at the end of the building, closer to the parking lot, so that the masonry work can actually start while the gazebo is still being utilized, which is an issue because when do you build this thing? Do you build it in the wintertime or not? The other thing that's kind of cool about this, I got this idea when I designed a set for Annie. These can be pivoting panels. And what's cool about the pivoting panels is that you can have different events. You can actually decorate them with different banners. They're open around so you can bungee cord banners and switch out advertisements and stuff like that. The colors are always optional. I just happen to have these colors in stock at home. The little suggested painting of the background kind of complements the Smokies. And once again, I haven't come up with a cost for this. This stage actually is very similar to what you see here. This is a 3-foot stage. So is this. This is a tiered stage, which means that this is very choral friendly. Meaning you can have choruses and a tiered setup. You have a ramp here. It's not to specs, but of course you would want to propose to have a handicap ramp here. You have steps here. And the rest of the park is open with some features of seating, kind of invites folks to come in without their folding chairs and provide them with some seating here. And that's pretty much it. It's a stucco finish. I think that this can be constructed. A lot of it will be prefabricated. This will be prefabricated in the shop. That'll save some construction time. There isn't a lot of construction material here. It looks like a lot, but there really isn't a lot in there. It's a metal roofing. That's pretty standard. Beams, stucco, port, masonry. You have a storage space in the back. It's what I call a sled storage. Doors with kind of like a big 4x8 dolly that would slide out. You have a floor drain inside of it. It'd be secured. You could possibly have the same one on this side. So you would have a 4x8x3, 2 sleds on each side. I don't know if that would be ample space, but it's a start. So with that said, once again, thank you, Barbara McCrae, for that nice article you wrote up. You summarized 40 years of my experience. Thanks again, Warren Cabe, for opening an opportunity for this. And thanks to y'all for turning out and we'll get a chance to network and possibly see each other again in the future. Thank you.
All right, up next we have Robbie Park, and Robbie, correct me on this if I'm wrong, but he's a designer, but you also do the sound for several of the events, is that correct? Okay, all right, hold on.
That's pretty much how I got involved in this thing to begin with. I run a sound for a lot of the yearly events from down Franklin. I think it was the Folk Festival when I heard that they were contemplating doing some work and taking care of some of the problems that they presently have on the gazebo stage, which is basically its age. There's bricks that are loose. I saw a child trip on one. The timbers, the roof is, I guess it's adequate for maybe 1960s, but it in itself is, in my opinion, something that needs to be worked on. When I first proposed to come up with a little dog and pony show for them, I drew something similar to Angela's. This is a lot better. What I did is I put the stage up in the left-hand corner because one of the problems that they asked me to address was a sound problem. Either they have trouble hearing me when I shoot the sound directly across the street, or it bounces off the buildings and creates an echo, or if they're across the street, there's a delay. All right? So I put this thing in the corner so much to design a new stage up there, but to address that problem. I think it's a great design.
Maybe we should put one on each side, so the sound will bounce back.
Well, perhaps you can design something in similar size and shape, or diminished size, but similar in shape for the restrooms in another phase. Because I think that the restroom problem needs to be addressed. I'm sure you all go to the events. I'm sure you all go use the restroom. You see the lines. I feel so sorry for some of the women with those children. And taking care of the children because the women the line is so much longer. Okay? Something needs to be, you have to address it. Maybe not in this particular phase, but somewhere down the road. Sound. The bathrooms. The next biggie is budget constraints. Okay? I drew what I drew that hit the paper, and by the way, that was a draft that never was intended to be publicized, but it utilizes the existing ellipse and gazebo foundations. Because that's one way to remain within your budget constraints. Now, I don't feel free to discuss what they told me as far as monetary figures are concerned, but I can tell you that what I drew, their wish list, is really very questionable if I can do it or if it can be done within the budget. But the basic drawing with just the covered elliptical stage area and the reworking the gazebo could be done within their budget. What they told me. Or maybe it was wanted to have. But within those numbers. Another thing is I changed the approach to the gazebo to come from Main Street because that's such a, the traffic in that space behind the gazebo and between the building is so, it's huge during these events. So people just got to get lost there. So I rotated the stairs to face Main Street. And I think it's a larger area for your choral groups or the beaky to line up and come out. The bands, I don't know, a lot of them get worried about leaving their instruments on the gazebo when they're performing. A little bit of storage there wouldn't be a bad idea, at least give them someplace safe for their instruments while they enjoy the festival and prepare to perform. So essentially these are the things that I designed to. As far as the design is concerned, it's a over-the-top attempt at Victorian. To me, okay. Oh, one other thing. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to say this. There are no stained glass windows. There are no crucifixes on the roof. All right? It's a lightning rod. They are removable quilted panels. Maybe created by some of the ladies here in their quilt group.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, our next designer is Jerry Baird.
Good evening, everyone. When I was approached about submitting a design for this project, I went around and I asked interested parties, put it around to us, asked them what would you do if you could change something about the gazebo. Overwhelming feedback I got was leave the gazebo alone. Fine like it is. Well, there's two inherent problems with that. Number one, that's not focused this project. And number two, I realized that came from the deep-rooted concern that people would come in here and build an overbearing, gaudy structure that would further serve to block, inhibit, and obstruct views of businesses already located on town square. That was their concern. So I decided, well, okay, then I'll go minimal. So I designed a structure that is basically a slightly larger version of an existing gazebo that is higher than the original gazebo, that encompasses the base of the fountain area. And purposely put nothing on the bottom of it so that at ground level, looking through it, it doesn't inhibit any of the businesses that already exist in that square. And people, my second complaint I got was, you're building on the Veterans Memorial. My answer to those people is, yeah. Take a closer look at the structure. The structure has columns and lattice work on it that are directly taken from the Julius T. Seiler House, more locally known as Dixie Hall. Now, people in the know that Dixie Hall was the home of the Highland Rangers. People not from here won't know that when I speak of the Highland Rangers, I'm not referring to a ragtag band of Mount Hillbillies during the Civil War. I'm referring to a full-blown military regiment of over 2,000 soldiers, some 400 of which were battle-hardened Cherokee Indian warriors from right here in Sandtown, Cherokee Indian Nation. They were so much a part of this unit that their commander, Colonel Thomas, is the only white man to ever be appointed chief of a Cherokee Indian tribe. Now, when I go back and look at the historic accounts of what the Highland Rangers did, they were sent all over fighting. And I'm starting to wonder why this band of men from this little mountain town sent all over to fight for the South. Then one day, I saw a map of the original boundaries of the Cherokee Indian Nation. The original Cherokee Indian Nation encompassed Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee. They were defending their own backyard. And these people knew how to fight. People ask me, what's your point? My point is this. These people don't quit. And they were never defeated. They merely laid down their arms a month and a half after the Civil War was over, making it the last place of the Old South to surrender. The surrendering authority, Colonel Thomas, Colonel Curry of the Union.
Excuse me, Mr. Baird.
Yes.
We got a tight schedule, so if you want to, thanks for presenting, and if folks have questions when we have questions.
150 years after the Civil War, I think it's about time we pay a little homage to them.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you. All right, our next designer is Orchard Clark.
Guess most of you got to take a look at the plan before you sat down. And mine doesn't deal with the structure, number one, which most everyone is presenting here today, but this deals with the use of the space. I can plan in various sizes or styles, architecturally fit whatever the group decides at a certain point in time. But how we use the space and how public uses it, travels through it, engages it, the landscape elements, the hardscape elements, the drainage, ongoing maintenance issues. There's a lot of things buried in there that would remain even if the structure itself, the old family structure was removed. There's still a lot of electrical and low water, subsurface drainage, and those kinds of things in there. So the concept back in 2007 is when I drew the plan, and it shows it in the northeast corner, much like everyone here today is presented, where the platform area stage would be located. And the only thing I would really, there's a lot of concepts there. There's kind of a covered area across the sidewalk down the building as well, all the way where People's used to be and the other businesses are located. It was a structural pergola like needed a little dry space or something to gain that sidewalk is a public sidewalk space. So lots of concepts could come together in any of that. After sitting uptown a few weeks ago on Sunday afternoon for over an hour and just really contemplating the site, there's a few things I would change in terms of the design today going forward. And because of the elevation change of the northwestern street near the bank going down to Main Street, realistically, the platform stage area could be sidewalk level on that end of the property. You could just walk straight off of that, and then it could have a drop down and some encompassing retaining sitting walls. I don't call them retaining walls, but they're sitting height could run around both sides of each sidewalk area that will incorporate into pathways and the things necessary for that as well. But that's about the only thing I would change. So the size of the stage, I don't know how big it is. We're going to have storage and bathrooms. I don't know either. But whatever we want to put in, I favor that end of it, and at least aiming it towards Main Street or slightly towards the red light in its creation, so that bigger crowds could be accommodated and smaller crowds could be, kept right in front of the stage area there very easily. Glad to work on any future planning for that. That's on AutoCAD if we want to play with things and put things on and do some things. I try to be as accommodating as I can to do those things in our office. I do have as-built of the space as it is today that locates all of the power and the water and other things that are on it. That's already in AutoCAD as well. So, okay, I'm out. So,
Question.
Yeah.
One question, when we talk about northeast, are we talking about the corner, the far end corner, heading towards the parking lot behind?
That's correct.
Okay, so that's the northeast corner.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Bruce Fuller.
Thank you, Angela. I'm not a designer. I do rough sketches and say, here, build this. I don't have the details, but what I came up with was something very similar to what Mr. Ramos says, except instead of the northeast corner, it's up against the bank. So it's overlooking the entire square. Acoustics is very important. Very, very important for whatever we do. Every event we have there, someone's saying something, talking about this, or playing an instrument, and folks can't hear it as you head, get closer to Main Street. And that's why right now the gazebo is like a bell. All that sound is trapped up in there. It is not being reflected. Mr. Ramos's design is very close to ideal, I feel. I've got a lot of friends that I was in high school with. Spike Lee, for example, or folks that played with Johnny Carson, the band. They've got Oscar and so forth. I worked stage crew at the high school. I used to skip class and go up in the loft and hide out. They'd never find me. But acoustics is very, very important. And my recommendation was to have something that reflected the countryside, a bit of a look of a barn or the side of an old house with the wings, such as Mr. Ramos there, and the ceiling canted like this to bounce the sound out towards Main Street and across the Confederate. Included with that was behind the stage was a storage area of about 5 foot deep. You could put the band instruments, podium. There was also an area for the sound person to keep his equipment and to control it. A light bar over the front of the stage, because when events start happening at night, you want to be able to extend it as much as possible. That's all I've got.
All right, and finally we have Joe Bell. Are there any designers who I missed? Okay.
Thank you, Amy. I'm Joe Bell, I'm Category Timber Planners. I don't have a design. I did bring a number of designs for you to look at if you'd like. I was taking together one design with the initial fabrication in our shop right up through to the finished product. And they're all set together if you want to look through them. I don't presume to have the wisdom to come up with a design for this thing. You are certainly much better equipped than I am, but I just wanted to present these ideas to you in case they might help in the process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. All right. Now we're going to move on. We've got one lady here, Ruth Goodyear, who is representing line dancers who frequently perform at Piggin. So if you want to come on up here. And I'll remind you, if you could keep it to about 2 minutes, that would be great.
Those of you who have been here a long time know that we used to, I represent Patty House tonight, but we used to compete, or not compete, but we would present probably 4 or 5 times during the course of the summer, picking on the square, and we were always very well received as being a local dance group. The last couple of years we have not been able to because the stage was gone and we could not dance in the street. So a design like Mr. Ramos has would be perfect for us to be able to come back and entertain people again.
All right, any other people involved with performing or the logistics of performing? All right. Next we've got. How did I miss you?
I know y'all can all hear me. I was the first MC at the Picking on the Square, and I did it for several years. Didn't get a dime. Loved it. This is a wonderful place for people to come. And I hate for us to spend a whole lot of money when we can spend a little less money and touch it up maybe. That's my own personal feeling. We've had some great designs out here. And I just hope that when you do this, don't put no bathrooms behind it. Please don't have bathrooms. We can go up to the courthouse, or you can put bathrooms somewhere else. You just don't want to do that. Now, are you ready for a little humor before we end? I'm going to do this song and I can't sing, but I wrote about Hickory Square, and I've sung it for years and years, and I've given out copies. Well, hello, folks from everywhere. We're glad to have you Picking on the Square. Come on in and sit right down. Enjoy yourself while you're in town. Well, you can come in the summer, you can come in the fall. Anytime you come, you'll have a ball. Right Franklin's a place to be. There's so many things for you to see. Well, you can dig for rubies and shop in our town. Great places to eat all around. Enjoy yourself, have lots of fun. There's something here for everyone. Well, the picking on square is a real big treat. The talent here is hard to beat. So clap your hands and stomp your feet, cause ain't no telling who you might be. Well, you can come in the summer, you can come in the fall. Anytime you come, you'll have a ball. Franklin is a place to be. There's so many things for you to see. Well, I finished my song, I don't know how. I sure can't sing, but you know that now. Well, we've had some fun, and you must agree. The picking on the squares for the place for you and me. So you can come in the summer, you can come in the fall. Anytime you come, you'll have a ball. So folks, come up with a good idea.
Thank you, Patty. All right. Next, we're going to go to here. If there's anyone else, please let me know. We'll put you on, and then we'll move on to open comments and questions from everyone else. Sue Wedbrook from the Uptown Gallery.
Hi, I think lots of you know me, and I come from East Franklin, as you can tell by my accent. I got here as quick as I could, y'all. I appreciate all the designs that are being offered. I have some concerns about cost. I'm from Macon County Art Association, and we do use the space where the gazebo is, especially in relation to our donating portraits to veterans on Veterans Day. And that's part of the thing that we do. We also run a town gallery on Main Street. So, as gallery director, I'm involved with Streets of Franklin, and I have several concerns that I think ought to be looked at before anything is done on the gazebo. First of all, I'd like to know that this is the best use of any funds available. We have on Main Street some critical issues as far as safety is concerned. Someone mentioned tripping over a brick from the gazebo. Trust me, people trip over the sidewalks on Main Street daily. It's a huge lawsuit just waiting to happen. I also think that as far as the businesses around are concerned, we would like to see the gazebo give the businesses that are around it good exposure. I've heard lots of comments on not having the bathrooms in the gazebo, and I'm glad to see that they have disappeared. I do think we need bathrooms downtown. The space for the performers should be adequate. The sight and sound issues should be addressed. The part for the audience should be something that's well thought out, that shows that gives lots of space for people to sit. And we need a cohesive plan, something that fits in with whatever's supposed to go on with Main Street and looks like it belongs in downtown Franklin. And that, I feel, is an issue that has to be addressed up front. And whether the gazebo has to be rebuilt completely or just patched up, whatever we have, let's have it be part of downtown Franklin, let's have it fit in with downtown Franklin, And that's how it fits in with the plans for the future of downtown Franklin before we spend the money. If you have not had an opportunity to speak and you would like to speak, if you want to just come and start lining up here at the poll, we will give everyone that we have time to speak. Do try to keep your comments short, just to a minute or two, because we do want to give everyone an opportunity to speak. While we're waiting on people to come over here, I would like to take a minute and thank our elected officials who came out. We really appreciate you guys. I see Paul Higdon from County Commissioners, Joyce she's an alderman, Patty Abel, and where's Bob Scott? I know you're here somewhere, way back there, and Barbara McCrae. There's Bob. Anyone who wants to come up and share a few words, comments, concerns?
I'll share something. Apart from Mitchell Local Franklin, I'd just like to speak as a business owner that is downtown, my offices, and an aspiring entrepreneur that can someday have a brick and mortar downtown. And that this space could directly affect my business and folks wanting to come to town that will come to my business. I think I'll just speak just for a brief minute on the look of this space. This is very crucial, in my opinion, to think Susan mentioned vision and our future of the town. What's that going to look like? What direction are we moving in? I'm a big proponent of the AT. Right now, it's a big, huge hiking season, and you've all probably seen our hikers up and down the sidewalks carrying bags they shop at businesses from, directly affecting our community. So that's a big piece to me. That's pretty crucial as to speaking as to what the space looks like, and so forth and so on. But and that's the vision of Franklin is my concern. Where are we going, and what are we going to look like? And this space should be moving in that direction as well.
Thank you. Anyone else before we wrap this up? Anyone else?
My name is Jesse. I've lived here for a few years, and I just want to say I think this is awesome how everybody here is coming together to just discuss ideas for the future of this whole community. And I would just like to throw out there, if you would like to see a vision I really had to enliven this whole area and the people in it, please go to my website, Macon, M-A-C-O-N, itreal.com. And it just showcases a little video of what a makerspace can be to just for young and old, or anybody really, to come together and have projects to work on that include a 3D printer, but it's really hard to explain without seeing it. I would just encourage everybody to go to makeitreal.com to be able to voice your support for such a future place, hopefully in downtown, because it can just draw people to the area that they're popping up all over the place, these maker spaces, around the country, but there's a lot of places, especially more rural areas, that are not really coming along with this movement of the 21st century, really just bring people into hands-on robotics and stuff that kids can't really learn in school very much, which is very unfortunate, but people want to see something like this. I've talked to several people that would like to see the downtown have something that really draws and enlivens people to it. That's very unique to this whole area, which is unfortunate. There needs to be a lot more of these maker spaces. But please just check it out, and I'd like to hear your support. Thank you.
All right, anyone else before we wrap things up?
Hi everybody, I'm Andy. I'm with Ratsfield with Natasha, Brandon, Katie, and Dana. I'll be honest, I don't have a ton to say. I just wanted to just let everybody know that it's really awesome when we get together like this, talking about these things. I've not even got a chance to look at all these, but I can tell a lot of people have some really awesome ideas. Just things like Matt said, nature, I think is a big thing for maybe the direction we want to go when we think about remodel these things. I am supportive of it. I do think from a personal standpoint, I performed there with a band, a loud band, and the acoustics are not great. And I do think the acoustics are going to be a huge issue if you decide to approach redoing this square. Also, I heard somebody mention lighting. I believe it was you. That's a great idea because I know if we had our own lights, we could not have played past 8:30. But there's other things to consider. Obviously, Franklin has so many mentioned. We do have Cherokee. It's part of our past, part of our culture. Picking on the square, have a little song about it. That's a big part of our culture, of our past. So, just getting together like this and making sure all those ideas get out there, I think is really awesome. And myself, my wife, our business.
My name is Joan Fowler. Some of you know me. I'm fortunate enough to live a block off Main Street as a resident, prior business owner, Main Street program, board of directors. The history of this town is near and dear to my heart. I would love to see the character of the gazebo kept intact, but made safe, convenient, modernized to the point where the sound, the bathroom issue, everything else that would make it a good place to congregate and draw people in to enjoy the things that we have to offer. But in looking at all these plans, I don't see anything that, they're all beautiful, but they're not Franklin friendly. I don't think they show the character of Franklin and just to carry on the history of this town. And if it's possible to upgrade without being modern, that's a great thing. And that's what I would love to see, and I think I speak for a lot of other people.
I don't see how what I'm going to say is going to help anybody. I have experienced excellent acoustics, and I mean excellent. You could hear a pin drop at 100 yards. What they did is they put a gigantic roof quite up high, and I just can't see any space for a gigantic roof quite up high in Franklin. That's all I wanted to say.
Any other comments or questions?
Angela, I will. Yes.
Oh, no.
Of course. First, I want to thank you all for coming. The League of Women Voters in Mitchell Local Franklin has worked very hard to pull this together, but it wouldn't happen without each of you. Thank the alderman and Bob Scott for coming, and Paul Higdon, show support for our community. I think we need to remember that we have other venues that might be as good or better for public events. Frogtown, the Whitmire property, while we do need to work on the gazebo square as it is, let's look at a bigger picture. Better sound, better, a whole better idea. So let's think that forward. The other thing I want you to do is be sure and fill out your form tonight and write down what you would like the next town hall discussion to be about. I think it's a very valid way of getting a lot of good information out there. So but thank you all for coming.
All right, I would just like to remind everyone again, we've got these forms. This is one of the best ways for us to be able to pass information on to the town board and possibly the county commissioners. I know that many of you may not be aware of it, but the town leases the gazebo. Piece of property from the county, but it is owned by the county, even though the improvements are being pursued by the town. So please fill these out. If you don't want to put your name on it, that's okay. We will still pass it along. And as you said, at the bottom, we've got a place that you can put down what you'd like to see in future forums. We hope for this to be a regular thing.
Would you ask how many are here who are not residents of that town of Franklin?
The question is how many people here are not residents of the town of Franklin?
You talking about city limits or?
Yes, city limits.
You mean city, you mean city.
Yeah, so just because your mailing address says Franklin, North Carolina, does not mean that you actually live within the city limits of Franklin. If you pay town taxes, you live within the city limits. If you're a renter and don't really know, there's a circle that's about a 1 mile radius from the square downtown, as well as some outlying subdivisions that are very relatively close to that central circle of property. So, we know that this space definitely impacts people who are not living directly in the town. So we're thrilled to have all of you here. Any other questions? Okay. I want to thank you guys all for coming. Again, I want to thank our elected officials, the League of Women Voters, Venture Local, the press who have worked with us in spreading the news and getting the word out